like and subscribe and hit that notification. And if you like this podcast, when the dads come in here, then we're going to talk about their week.
All right, you guys get ready to get rolling?
Yeah, let's send it down range.
All right.
Oh, boy.
Everybody still got a blue light?
Yeah.
You're listening to the Modern Dad Experience.
Guys, welcome to episode 2. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right.
Put some more booze in there, Levi.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, episode 2. Probably makes sense to introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
We know you're Jimmy D and you're Brett T, but give us a rundown.
Do we?
I'm Jimmy DeVoto. I've been a dad since 2015. I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old girl. Yeah, that's about all we got here.
Yep. Brett Tintera, dad with a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. Couldn't be happier to be a dad. Like the best gift I've ever been given in life.
And Levi Polk here. I've got a 10-year-old girl and a 7-year-old boy, and they keep it interesting every single day. It is an experience. It's a trip, but it's fun. So that's us. Let's dive right in, man. It's a pretty legendary week in terms of crazy amount of snow. Got a lot of action on the hill, but I've been looking forward to this all week. Like
Me too.
So, we hit upon it last week where you shared, it's really the third realm of your life, right? You got your work life, you got your home life, your social life, but your social life with a purpose is what, this podcast is about, what Dad's Club is about. So share what's going on this past week, either in Dad's Club, anything about your week.
All right, I'll go ahead and start. We had a big week for Dad's Club, I guess. Our meetings are the second Thursday of every month. So we had our official Dad's Club meeting this Thursday, and both you gentlemen were there. Thank you for coming.
Yes.
We went out to a restaurant that's close, just down the street from us, and got together. I think there was about 15 dads or so, maybe, give or take 2 or 3. But this meeting was our planning meeting for the dance, which used to be a daddy-daughter dance, and now it's a everybody dance, so daughters, sons, moms, dads can go. But, it was most of our meetings are just playtime for the dads, honestly, but we do a lot of things for the community, for the school, and this is one of them. So yeah, it was great. I think it was well attended, and everybody enjoyed it. We're doing animal theme for the dance. I'll probably dress like a fox, not sure, but the Elvis song, "What Does the Fox Say?" is gonna be a crowd slayer. I know I got at least one bunny, but yeah, man, it was good. I love that second Thursday of every month because it gives us a chance to get out, and especially when we're doing something nice for the kids and for the community.
So yeah, you talk about the events, right? So part of Dad's Club is not only this meeting that's once a month, but you guys spearhead some pretty cool events. We spearhead some cool events, but you're kind of one of the originators, obviously. So the events, you should talk a little bit about that. It's part of the Dad's Club core, right? You don't have to do it. There's no have-tos in Dad's Club. It's you want to be a dad, so you want to do these things, and they raise money.
Yep.
One of the events is a dance, right?
That's right.
They've done floor hockey as one of the meetings to get together.
Floor hockey, kickball. We try to keep it fresh and young and fun. The kickball,
Poker night.
Yeah, all the things. Yeah, we're doing.
That strip club night was crazy. Just kidding.
Didn't go there.
Joking.
We have the frisbee golf tournament that you originated.
The Froth Festival.
Froth, we're trying to get that word to stick, right?
Yeah, right. Good luck with that. Only real frisbee golfers know the word froth. Moving on. Yeah, but the events are always cool. I think that's a neat portion that some people don't realize. Besides they're fundraisers. So anyways.
So that daddy-daughter dance was a ton of fun. It went away in COVID, so I'm glad it's coming back, and it's all in dance. I'm looking forward to it because I haven't been in a couple of years.
Oh, nice.
I never went. Unfortunately, I was not there last year. Second year or third year?
Will be my third year.
Yeah.
I think it's only 3 years back from when it got canned, COVID.
Yeah, you guys didn't invite me back then. But
What's really great about a network of dads like that is is a lot of what we're doing here, sharing best practices, but also like we each have a strength, and where we're weak, we can like lean on each other. That might be like borrowing a snowplow that you have that I don't have, which is like it made its way around the neighborhood. Pretty cool.
I agree with you. The camaraderie is huge. It makes you realize that everyone has some struggles, everyone has some insight, and it's just like you're not alone out there, more or less. There's a lot of great, and you don't realize how you can help folks too, just through some good conversation and dad camaraderie, if you will.
Yeah.
Dad-radery.
Yeah, I like that. I think the key, it's just so key. And so raising kids is very much a tribe mentality, and I love that. It's like, hey, I got to run and do this. Can you watch my kids? Absolutely. Because honestly, it's like when my kids have other kids to interact with, it's good for them, right?
Yeah.
And then the other side of that token, like when you have other kids at your house with your kids, I feel like it's way easier. My kids aren't like, hey, Dad, I need this. I need you to look at me do this.
Yeah.
You get some other kids over there, they play together. They have a great time. And it's like having a babysitter for some reason.
When there aren't friends over, it's like send in the clowns and I have to come in and entertain.
You come out kicked and bruised. Yeah. Come up with a new act, bro.
I definitely feel like Sideshow Bob.
Oh, man. Yeah, but so the cool thing, too, about Dad's Club is, like, okay, so, like, you have your dad. Some people have their father. Some people may have an uncle they talk to. Some people have their, maybe a brother, right? You have certain people in your world and your friends that are dads. But cool thing about Dad's Club, too, is I've talked to a lot of dads I probably, unfortunately, would never talk to just because... I don't know. I don't see a lot of the people I want to see anyways, right? Like, it's hard with life and kids and everything. So getting the other perspective from some of these dads, and maybe I already said that, but it's really interesting from people that you would typically, and then that's the good reminder of like, not only never judge a book by its cover, but like so much to be learned by people that you typically wouldn't talk to. Is just kind of blows my mind every time I go to Dad's.
That's 100%, Brett. And I mean, I don't know why I wouldn't have mentioned that before, but it is.
How dare you, bro?
It's just such a huge thing to those people that you maybe wouldn't talk to otherwise, that you build relationships with, and you learn so much more from different perspectives that, if you're hanging out with all the same people, you're not going to get those perspectives, And in the Dad's Club that we're a part of, there's all types of people, and all types of perspectives. There was no Dad's
Club, right? That's kind of where that thought came from. Is typically it'd be, okay, family, friends, and maybe a parent or something that you can really level with on a dad level, right? But the Dad's Club is kind of a whole level I never even saw coming. And I heard it first time, I'm like, what's that?
Yeah, like whether it's being a dad or being a husband, there's no operating manual that it came with. Like you just kind of figure it out. There's some things you really excel at, and there's some things that you need to learn from others.
Yeah, right. It's fraternal. Foot DC, the Fraternal Order of Dad's Club.
Fraternal Order.
Get it right.
Yep, that's what I wanted to call this thing, but everybody
that's Jimmy's origin
thought it was terrible, and I don't disagree all that much. But I think the modern dad experience is going to be much better.
Levi?
I got to give props to this guy. So I came over to borrow your snowplow. You were living your best dad life. Yeah. So I knock on the door, I hear some commotion, and you open the door, you're shoes off, you're totally in comfort mode. You've got a gallon of caramel corn or something. I don't know what you're snacking on.
Talking while I'm chewing. Come on in, Levi!
No, but there's no screens in sight. You're playing board games, maybe 2 or 3 of them at the same time with your kids. And it was just like,
because
I would have come in.
I'm desperate for board games, and me and my wife love them, but they'll burn through it in 5 minutes. I'm like, all right, get another one out, and then burn through that in 5. All right, get another one out.
But it was just awesome. It was like
I appreciate it. It was a good little moment in time.
See a little bit of Brett's bubble.
Well, and for those of you watching who don't know, here in St. Louis we had an epic snowstorm this week. The kids were out of school 4 out of the 5 days, coming off winter break. So we went winter break, and we were supposed to go back Monday. We didn't get back till Thursday for one day, and then we're off Friday. So it was tense. I mean, I know in my household, if we didn't get back to school on that Thursday, it might have broken my entire family. I mean, we were just grasping for straws and running on fumes, and we all made it work, and it was an epic week too. There was sledding and lots of snow.
Snowboarding.
I snowboarded for the first time at 47 years old. Brett
Shredded,
brought
bro.
his snowboard to the hill and
Shredded it.
took a couple lumps. I will say I'm about as sore as I've ever been in my life between shoveling my driveway 3 separate times this week and running the snowboard down the mountain, which it's more of a hill, not a mountain, and it's really nice
Close to the
setup.
mountain,
It's
bro.
clutch, but the big problem is there's no lift or anything, so you got to walk. You got to walk up that thing, and
Between the shoveling and the walk, no need for exercise. You got your cardio in.
Yep, all my rings fully cleared. I think we had a competition within the family, and I crushed everybody, which very proud of.
We were the same. We started the week with a lot of energy and excitement, and it worked because we had to work this week, and we're fortunate enough to work remotely, but also the kids at first they got it, but then by the end of the week they're like, entertain me, and I'm like, I got nothing left.
I know. Remember how last week we were talking about how that 2 weeks is this kind of like glorious window of time with the holidays? It continued. Bro.
Yeah.
It
Went on
kept
to
going.
3 weeks.
I was like,
and,
what's this?
Somebody's
Did I
got
get my snowboard out? Like, it was unbelievable. I didn't no more sick days, so I went to work too, but did I go to work? I don't even remember.
I think you went at least one day.
They're extremely lucky because to have a complete winter break and then come back and have an extension to that winter break.
Yeah.
When some years they get no snow days.
And we happen to live by a great hill. I'm sure a lot of people watching live by a park or drive to a park or whatever, but the fact that we can walk to this one is unbelievable. It's pretty great when you can have your local park.
All right, any shareables this week? Kind of the section where we share what's a win, what's a loss, what's a pass, a bye.
I guess mine's repetitive from, I feel like it's back into this, to the sledding, but like my go-to thing is always cheap, easy, and free. If I can like check one of those boxes, if not all of them, with like something to do with the kids, you know what I mean? Because I feel like if they have a good time and it's one of those 3, if not all of them, it gives them a great appreciation for something that doesn't cost money. It'll give them a greater appreciation for something when we do spend money. You know what I mean? So like if I could make a lunch and go to a park, obviously it's frozen outside. I can't do that right now. But typically a shareable for me would be a hike. Just simplicity in a park, nearby park. We also have a bunch of those around us. We're very lucky. But even if you got to take a short drive, I feel like a walk in the woods is beyond beneficial for the parent, for the kid. It's short and easy, and if you do it enough, they will want to start doing it like anything, right? Or hopefully most of the things that you want to get your kids to do.
Yeah,
So,
the Japanese have a specific term for walking in the woods. Like
I think it's
part of
hilarious
health.
that we're all now calling it this thing, forest bathing or whatever, which is cool. Great, let's call it a name. That's
Excuse me,
fine.
what? Forest bathing?
Yeah, that's right. You get naked, you run around the woods. No, it's just about.
Brett does.
No, but
Brett
this
does.
is the problem with it. Like, why call it that? That's fine. It's just about immersing yourself in the woods. I don't think you can submerge yourself in the woods. Anyways, it's about just being in the woods, around the woods, not being around concrete or anything else. Even if there's a path there, it's just about being there. And it does something for your chemical balance.
Yeah, every once in a while you'll be like, dude, we hit 4 parks today. It was a marathon.
Dude, we've hit some parks because, anyways.
I like
Yeah.
that. That's good.
I'm trying to find an epic playground, and in that search, I'll find little okay playgrounds, so we'll jump from those to those. But that's my shareable, cheap, easy, free.
Yeah.
Jimbo?
Man, I don't have a ton. I was going to go into some vacationing things, but I'm not going to do that today.
Oh, it's a tease. You're teasing
It's
us.
a tease.
Hey, you know
We're
what?
gonna-
I'm going on vacation next week, so this would be good to catch up on when I get back.
Next week,
We'll figure it out.
Mexico. A shareable. Okay, we had basketball this weekend. This is pretty vanilla, but my third grader and my first grader, I coach both teams. I'm assistant coach for both teams, so I'm not fully in charge. As you could tell if I was standing up, basketball wasn't my first and biggest love. But I had to make a choice because both games were at the exact same time. Right, so they both played at 2, and as a matter of fact, they both had pictures prior to the game. So I had to make a choice. I can only be in one picture with the kids, and I can only be in one game. This is kind of the art of being a dad. You have to figure out what's the right decision there. And you could say it doesn't matter either way. You're gonna win. But for me in particular, I decided to go with my older one, and sent my wife with a young one with grandpa was going as well, so she would have a little extra support. And to make a long story short, which is too late, I've already gone way over the runway. But my older one, great game. Third grade girls, the girls, they put up 30 points in a third grade game, which is insane.
My daughter plays on the team.
She plays on the team too. Fantastic game. But my first grader, they lost, but she scored a basket. Which is like so cool because she is, second shortest on the team. She's a remarkable little athlete, but I knew that she can do it, and to some extent, I think she does better without me there, because I become a little bit of a crutch for her. When I'm there, she's concentrated on my feelings as well as her. She's just a beautiful human being, but I knew that she could do it, and I knew she'd be fine. And the head coach of that team is actually the gym teacher at the school, which helps hugely. But it was that decision, really thinking about it, and I'm upset that I missed the basket, because that's something huge. It's not her first. She scored last year, but it's kind of a big deal for her. I'm upset that I missed the basket, but I think in part it was because I wasn't there that she was able to play a little freer without worrying about Dad being there, But that basket, I know deep down, is just going to give her the confidence she needs to finish the season and do even better, which is awesome. And, as a dad, those are the things that excite me and make me happy, even though I wasn't there. Huge moment in my life that she scored.
That's super exciting, and congrats. That's wonderful. It's a mixed bag between sometimes they need us there to encourage and push out, and sometimes they need us not there so that they can be a little more freer and just play a little looser. Because playing looser, she was able to score that basket.
Yep.
Yeah, because I'm talking about sports, I'm one of the parents that yells. Right, I'm the third coach.
I haven't noticed.
Third coach from the side, and I've toned it way down. But I realized, and I think my wife told me, or somebody said, recruiters and coaches, if you have a player and their parents are up in your face, they're less likely to pick the kid up and work with the kid. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, so
and it's distracting as all hell.
In soccer, you were standing behind the goal, giving the goal, because goalie is new this year in first grade soccer.
Yeah.
And you were giving the goalie some tips, and my wife's like, "Can you go get him?"
Oh, it's funny because I felt like that's the one time I was supposed to be back there doing
so
that.
then I was like, "Well,
you better check Jenna, bro." I'm just.
So I had to explain, he was actually asked to be there.
She's like, "No, get him out of there."
No, because the kids, their first year playing goalie, they don't know what to do. They don't know to be aggressive. And you had played goalie, right, in high school.
Sure.
So you had actually been asked to stand there. So
all the parents are probably like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah, exactly. All the
no,
parents.
he's supposed to be back there. It's tough. It's tough for kids having all that direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So try and lay off.
So how do you settle disagreements, or when there's a scarcity of resource? You had to decide between which game to go to. But just in your family, how do you settle things in terms of going this way or that way, or who gets to do this or doesn't get to do this? Do you leave it up to a coin toss? Do you farkle? How do you resolve that?
Man, I don't think there's any easy way. And to some extent, I like to try to let the kids hash it out, figure it out.
Yeah.
The more that we get involved, the less they're building the skills to handle situations, handle disagreements, and all those different things. Obviously, when it gets to the point of name calling and, you're a poopy head, and you got to step in because it's no longer productive.
Yeah, severe.
Right? But I think it's important to let them, go at each other to some extent. To try to figure out some sort of hierarchy to how those things get managed and done. But I certainly don't have the blueprint for it.
Yeah, I typically default to age is my easiest exit, to be like, hey, listen, you have to listen to your sister just like you have to listen to adults. I always, I don't know if it's the best, but.
It's so funny. When they start preschool, the level of authority, it goes in this way, I think. It goes teacher, grandma, everyone else, and then a parent.
Yeah.
In terms of what is the authority over my life?
I always compare him to the teacher. I'm like, hey, at school, how you would never talk like this to the teacher or this tone or anything remotely close? They're like, uh-huh. And I'm like, so that's the very same thing that works with me, but even more important with me. And you just see it sail over. And they're like, my teacher doesn't talk to me like this at school, or like something along those lines. And it's fun.
Well, and we touched upon it last time. I mean, things are just so different. You know, I would never have considered raising my voice to my old man, or like, you know, being terribly disagreeable to my mom. Like, I wouldn't even have considered it. There are different sorts of repercussions back then. There are different sorts of, you know, so it's not an even playing field from when we were kids.
Dads are getting weak, aren't they? Just say it.
Soft.
No, bro, we're not going to allow it. That's why we're having the podcast.
It does, yeah.
It's called Hard, Soft Dads Going Hard. That's not good either. Kick-ass dads.
For a different day, different channel, but I mean, okay.
Moving on. That's the name of your OnlyFans site.
Weak dads whooping ass. No, is that better? I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
All right.
Sidecast. See you guys on this. Hashtag weak dad.
Hashtag fans only, Brett.
Whoa.
So my shareable. Tuesday night we decided to go get my mother-in-law unstuck. She's been in the house for 3 days. She very much wants to be unstuck from her driveway. It's dark. It's 20 degrees. My family's like, why are we going out? Like, it's cold.
Yeah.
And we get there, and I'm like, this is what we do. We gotta get her unstuck.
Right.
We're able to. She's not able to. They got into it. They got it done in their own way. And we got back. We actually had a really good time as a family. And the next day, because we were out of school, my son was like, let's go finish the driveway and get grandma all the way unstuck, because that's what we do, you know, as a family. So, you know, fatherhood, parenthood is very much like pushing a hill or pushing a rock up a hill. And it's just nice every once in a while to get like a win, you know, to know that something's like resonating with them after repeating. So yeah, that was my shareable.
I like it. I think you have a valid point about those small things those little seeds end up growing into big stuff.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it's not like you want to be like, if you're not thinking about grandma, be thinking about her, but it does send a bigger picture or a bigger message, like, you know, try and help them be aware of the people in their world that's maybe not, you know, living with them, but help them be here. And just that sounds like a pretty positive response.
Yeah.
I mean, let alone that he wants to go do work.
Now, yeah, so that was a win. It's not a humble brag, because I have plenty of losses.
Oh,
I got one loss every night with bedtime. Like, bedtime is just a headache.
Yeah, but there's no way of looking at that, right? Like, they say your fails are just not fails. They're lessons that you're learning each way not to do it the next time, right?
Yeah.
So I guess you could look at that too. It's like if you...
Dude, bedtime's been a fail for me for a long time. And I mean, you know, to the point where I have a third grader and a first grader, and I've been going to sleep with, you know, one or both of them every night, you know, whether it's in the bottom bunk or, you know, on the couch in the older one's room. But even though that's a loss, I also think about it and I frame it in the fact of, hey, I know, you know, when they're in their teenage years that I'm probably not going to be even allowed upstairs. Like, they're going to be like, Dad, no reason for you to ever come upstairs, right? So even it might be a loss now, but it's a win, because, you know, how much time do we have left at this age? How much time do we have left when they, you know, when they look at us the way they do? And
yeah, you're totally right. Because it's like, don't call me, I'll call you. Trailblazer, you've been down this path before, so I'll share more about this in the coming weeks, but just now I'll leave it as, so family member is going to become, or is an expecting dad. What advice would you give to an expecting dad you haven't been down that path or that trail before?
Man, you know, this is something that I've kind of always done to expectant fathers and mothers even, you know, because I remember, you know, early on when we were trying and before I was a dad, and everybody's, oh, it's the most amazing thing that's ever going to happen in your life. Oh, it's so wonderful, all these things. And I try to make it a point to be like, grab a root, buckle up. It's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your entire life.
Yeah,
you know, I like to try to be.
If you really do it right, you're right.
And say, listen, you know, like, don't expect to sleep early. You know, like for the first couple of years, maybe. Right. Like, you're not going to get the sleep that you want, right? And all those things combined, it is the greatest thing ever, and it does change you in ways that you can't even imagine, right? It turned me into a man, probably, you know, from a boy. All of a sudden, you have someone that you have to take care of and that counts on you, but but it's going to be hard. It's going to be the hardest, and you will not even believe how hard it is. And someday you might even look at that baby and be like, oh my God, I just want you to leave, right?
Yeah.
But don't feel bad, because like that's what we all go through, right? And it's supposed to be hard. Anything that's worthwhile is a challenge, and that's why we grow. But that's what I would say is, hey, guess what?
100%.
Like, it's gonna be a grind. You're in the trenches
Yeah,
now.
especially if you're doing it right, right? If you
Nope.
show up every day and really put in work, that's not easy, but the reward's tenfold. You know what I mean? But it's hard.
Yeah.
It's not, especially you don't know if you're doing it.
You're right. If something is not hard, you won't grow. If something's easy to you, you learn nothing. You don't learn patience. You don't learn resilience. You don't learn anything. So it's leaning into those hard things.
Yeah. Mine would be, so know what the phases are of the first 3 or 4 years, and then be super aware of them. What I mean is I don't even know what the phases are, but
Do elaborate, please.
sure. The first 6 months, there's a phase, right?
Phase one.
Well, where
First 6
they're
months.
pre-crawling, let's just say, right? Before they actually roll over. And then they're able to be mobile, right? And then they walk. There's a phase where they're pre-verbal. And then they're verbal, right? So I'm just saying...
I feel like that was way more than 3 phases, but
That's what I mean. There could be 6 phases. I'm just saying, look at what they are the first 3 years before. I feel like at age 2 and 3, they start to change, into little people that start talking to you. So let me say, just be aware of that pre-verbal phase, how great that is. I wish I had, even though I went out of my way to make sure there was time of laying skin to skin with the kid and doing certain things at certain ages before they're able to even roll over or whatever. That whole flipping time, and I know most know this, but you kind of forget about it every day, that they're listening the entire time, right? And we know their ears work. I just mean they're listening more than we can possibly imagine. Just like today, at age 6 and 9, they're listening more than we could ever fathom. But even more so back then, they're developing their brain around these words, right? So those phases before they're verbal, I feel are epic, and just try to be aware of what those are and the window of time they exist in, and then just enjoy the hell out of them because they're here and gone.
Yeah. So when this family member asked me, any advice, and so my practical advice was, okay, baby's coming in summertime. Don't skip Mother's Day. Baby's not here yet, but she's still a mom carrying the baby, growing the baby. Celebrate her. But then what you said is, the moment you feel it's too much, it's too hard, I can't do this, just know that whatever you're dealing with around that gets better. It eventually gets replaced with something harder.
Yeah.
But whatever that thing is that's really hard right now, whether it's sleep deprivation when they're young or teething when they're, a little bit older, whatever that thing is, you get through it. You outgrow that problem. You grow into a new problem.
Yeah, right.
Big time.
Gives you appreciation, right?
I'm a little bit older, right? I have young kids. A lot of my friends from college, from high school, have kids that are in college, right? So they have much older children than me, and I have a couple buddies who have even younger kids, and we text a lot on a text thread with my college boys, and the guys who have the younger kids will be complaining about something, and the guys who have the older kids will send back hey, this is the easiest it's ever going to be for you, right? All of a sudden, now you're going to have a teenager. Now they're going to be driving. Now you're going to have curfew. Now you're going to have, car insurance and phone. Don't get ahead of yourself, right? Try to enjoy each stage, like you said. How many? 5, 15, 27, whatever it was. But try to enjoy those moments because they are gone fast, and I'm super not looking forward to. I mean, for all of us at one day, it's going to be over, right? I mean, it's going to be. They're going to have their own lives and their own problems, and they're not going to need us anymore. And certainly not looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's move into current events. In the world in current events, the West Coast is on fire. The East Coast is frozen solid.
We're somewhere in between.
We're somewhere in between. We're thawing. How do you talk to your kids about current events, because they're growing up in an age where the news isn't on TV? In no night do we ever turn on the nightly news. Something else is. It might be Pokemon, it might be something else, but You know, are they coming across it on their own? Do you talk to them about it? How do you do that?
You know, I think a few things that I thought about when you brought that up. I don't even know if there really is news anymore. I mean, I feel like, you know, it's all so charged with different viewpoints. I mean, back in the day, people would read the news and like you'd make your own decisions, but now it's like opinion, which that's a whole different podcast and a whole different level of everything else that I definitely don't want to get into because I hate talking about that stuff in the first place. But for instance, the fires in LA. We have an aunt, Kristen has an aunt that lives in LA and was evacuated, right? And so it's been, you know, good for my kids to be involved in that, you know, texting and calling, but they've gotten to see it, you know, from a relative's perspective. And so it's kind of, that was an easy avenue for that to be involved in our lives, is because we had somebody that was kind of boots on the ground. But, you know, I think it's by case, you know. I think we need to monitor and bring the things into our children's worlds that we want to, you know, from a news standpoint, from, you know, because in some cases they're not appropriate for them. In some cases, you know, it is so opinionated where you get it from that I think it's best to come from us and not from somebody else. But, you know, the girls, my girls have, you know, had a great experience texting and kind of being part of that current event with Aunt Liz, and you know, it was really neat that they were able to communicate with her about what was going on, what they see on the TV or in the newspaper. You know, it put some reality into it. Another thing that I saw that I thought was crazy, I don't know if you guys saw Steve Gutenberg, the police academy guy. You know who he is, right? Well, they interviewed him while it was burning, and some kid, you know, news guy is interviewing him, and he's like, and the kid had no idea who, and I'm like, this is such a shame. Like, this kid thinks it's just some average guy in the middle of it, but it's, you know, Steve Gutenberg from our youth. Like, I'm like, you have no idea who you're talking to, but
how many police academies were there?
Oh God, too many, I think, is the answer, but I mean, because the last few or couple might have been a little overkill, but man, some of those were, God, that was some great 80s, like, I mean, solid. Check it out. You got to check Police Academy out.
So, yeah. Police Academy. So, all right, this was on VHS, so this sets the year, right?
Okay.
We'd go to what was called Stone's Video Rental. They were on VHSs. We grabbed 7 of the police academies, and they were $2.50 to rent.
Okay.
Right. So it was easy to do the math when you wanted to rent movies, right? So we come home with 7 of these, and we try to do a marathon. And it gets to like 2:30 in the morning. I don't know what one we're on, but I'm out.
And it was probably around the time where like
That's where
they fell off the cliff. I mean, they hit a police academy cliff where it bombed after.
Like 45 minutes in the Police Academy 5. That's when you bow out.
Yeah.
News. Yeah, no. I mean, unless it's tied into a family thing, I would say then maybe we'll talk about it. But typically, if the kids hear something at school, maybe they'll come home and ask about it. But other than that, like, if they see me on my phone, which they probably do too much, just self-admitting, like, then maybe they'll catch some news info, like maybe something I'm listening to or looking at. But typically, I try not to watch too much news or, like, you know, I guess what would be traditional news, like on TV, and I don't think the kids are ready for it at all.
I think all our kids are kind of young for that.
Right. And
to,
then, like,
to be popping up more. I mean, you know.
Because they'll come home and be like, my son's asked, I think, like 5 people in our house, different people have come over, did you vote for Trump or did you vote for Kamala or somebody? I'm like, son, like, you don't even know what the question is. And I want them to know enough to understand the basics. But beyond that, it's like, it's such a crazy political world that I'm like, dude, you just need to enjoy your monster trucks.
Yeah.
And not worry about any of this junk.
Well, and
for a while, right?
certainly politics for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
because half the stuff we see as adults is convoluted. So, like, to act like the kid can digest it, it's not nobody's acting like that. But that's, you know what I mean. That's what, if we're not careful, they easily can get it. So, like, if anything, I try and avoid it.
Yeah. Your point on read the news. Do you remember who was it on the radio? Paul Harvey.
The best.
He literally
That
read
voice,
the news
man.
and said the page number. He said the page number.
yeah.
And he made a killing at it for a long time, bro.
Oh, dude, he was around forever.
And I'm Paul Hart. That voice is like ingrained in my DNA. I feel like.
He also he did like UFO stuff too, or no?
No,
That was
that's George Norrie, Coast
George
to Coast.
Norrie. That's
That dude's a local legend.
legend.
For literally, you know about Norrie,
Oh
Coast
God,
to
yeah,
Coast
man.
with the
Coast to
Nighthawk,
coast,
baby.
Oh, absolutely, man. Big time. Shout out.
Yep.
Yeah. Current topics, other than the election, current news topics haven't come up with my kids because they don't consume it that way, right? Like, they might hear something at school, but
Yeah.
they don't share much. But at some point, when they do ask me, I try to be completely unbiased. I try to read the news, which is strictly say facts and circumstances. And if I say anything about if I go any direction, I say, well, some people think it's this way and some people think it's that way. In terms of offering like multiple ways to think of.
I think for sure that anytime that you bring something up that is super polarized and has two sides to the story, that you have to lean in the middle and you have to say this is the facts, right? And this is how some people feel and this is how other people feel, but how do you feel? And not like
you feel,
and
right?
how does it make you feel? Not like
good.
oh, this is how I feel, so you should feel. None of that. Like, because when I was coming up, my parents didn't. They said, how do you feel? Like, what are your thoughts? And without putting anything, I mean, I don't think we want to, pump them with anything.
Yeah, so
It's dangerous. Yeah.
You want them thinking for themselves, to think through it themselves and
man.
come to their own conclusion. I think that's that's setting them up for success, because I wasn't my upbringing. I wasn't indoctrinated, but there was enough talk one direction.
Correct. Most are, right?
That's
which is
what
okay.
It was. That's what it was. It
You only
wasn't
know what you know, right?
It
Like,
wasn't direct as like, Levi, you should think this. But it was enough to know, like, oh, I know where they stand.
But like back to planting those seeds, like that's what happens, right? There's little things I picked up today still where I'm like, that wasn't even like pushed on me. I just remember parents saying, listening to them say, oh, I really agree with this. This is the way this thing looks or the way it is. And then not even putting it on me, but it just rattling in my head hearing it because I like had, trust in them. But yeah, interesting.
Anything else to hit on before we cheers out?
No, the biggest thing from that, the only last piece I'll say is that I take that opportunity when they say this or that. I'll say, hey, no matter what happens, like before election, right? I was like, no matter who wins, understand one thing only, it's going to be fine, right? Like, no matter what happens, don't fear this and don't fear that. Because if they're too young to understand what could happen, per se, in your beliefs, they're not going to get that, right? They just need to know there's safety and comfort and our home's going to be all right. So it's like I usually use that, if at all, to the advantage of, don't worry about it, it's going to be safe, and there's two stories to every single side. Like, so open your minds up a little bit.
Anything before we wrap?
I think that's it for me.
All right. So on our cheers out, well, you need a little more here. On our cheers out, it dawns on me like society quickly breaks down if we don't have infrastructure. And so what I'm talking about here is like dads and moms leave their homes to plow our streets, to work the lines, and keep the infrastructure going, to fight fires out west, deal with the snow and ice here. So, cheers to them. Appreciate that they keep our infrastructure going. So
Cheers. Salud.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching in episode 2.